Do you guys want any of this?
Moving on.
Whatever it is, yes.
I love it. Frat party. Let's do
Can you just come to my next retreat? Because I love your attitude.
And it's so funny because I didn't used to be like that. Just so you know, like this is a new like.
So just put it right under your tongue.
You should probably ask what it is first.
Why?
It's a plant medicine.
Sweet, she's gonna be hallucinating all day.
No, you won't. You can just put it right. There you go.
Hold it under our tongue or do I swallow?
It's good to try to hold it under for like 20 seconds and then you swallow. It's all go in there.
It's tingly.
It's alcohol based. It's brandy based. The one I gave you. This one is vodka.
Oh, I'm drooling.
I brought one for you guys if you want them. But,
was on a road trip. My sister and her friend.
I think that's been
just
20
swallow it. Yep.
seconds. I didn't count.
One of my best friends. We were partying all
need
night,
a nap?
and my sister and her friend had just got back from hitchhiking across.
Wow, it kicked in already, huh?
I
No.
fucking love you so
I wanna go
much.
for a ride. And we're like, sweet.
Okay, so I guess we'll start.
Let them take me as far as they want to go. And it's time for me to say, they won't break me, I'm braver than I know. I was made for this. Oh, such a time as this. I was made for this.
So thank you for joining us today. We are wrapping
looking at a
up.
camera.
I know this is when we actually get very intense.
Oh,
No, I'm
dear.
just kidding. I tend to get close. I tend to get closer to the
The
microphone.
producer didn't tell me this.
No, I know.
He didn't brief me on getting
So when
very
Heidi and I
serious
talk
look
to
at
each
it.
other, we tend to get like closer to the microphone, like while we're
Like,
looking at
he
each
said
other,
that,
and
yeah,
we don't
yeah.
know why. It's just very funny.
It's the only
So,
time I do it.
I know.
Hi, sir.
And
Like
I'm
on
like,
cue, we totally did it
I'm
too.
gonna have to hold it to get close to. I told him I've like emceed before, but you're holding a mic when you're
Yes.
emceeing, not.
Right.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, those pick you up pretty good though. Like these ones, I have to kind of be more intentional with mine.
yes.
But anyways, so we are going to end our May series with this episode, and it has been an amazing month. We have heard from Heidi and I first shared, our stories that we've had with depression, and then we had an incredible guest come from Gen Z.
Yes,
we
she was
really appreciate.
amazing.
She was great. She was great. Shout out to my daughter because that's who it was. And then we had Aaliyah Walker come back. And that was great.
Love
She
her.
gave us a perspective of millennials and what millennials deal with, in terms of mental health and anxiety and burnout, very, very heavy burnout. And then last week we had Jacqueline that came and we got to play and it was so much fun. We just got to do so much and learn so much about play therapy. So, and then
I
today,
haven't listened to that one. I'll be excited.
that one
to-
airs on the 24th. So,
Oh, that's why I haven't listened to it.
Yep,
Okay,
exactly.
I love that. Play
Yep.
is a big.
It
Oh,
is.
it's so good.
I bring
it was
bubbles to my
amazing.
retreat for
I love that.
for that experience, and then it rained on Saturday, unfortunately. But that's a big thing to
Yeah.
play.
Yes.
to
It
have
is.
fun.
So today we have Tiffany DeVries with us, and we are so excited that she's here. And we're just going to wrap up this series with just talking about what we experience as women, as moms, things like that. And then we're going to lean towards the natural side of things, knowing that there are other options out there for you than just quickly taking some medication or then taking another medicine to go on top of that medicine, and kind of just that compounding effect that we have with it. So just knowing that there are other options out there, I think is very, very freeing.
I agree.
And I think it's going to be really, really fun to learn about. So
Yay!
thank you for joining us,
Yes.
Tiffany.
Yeah, I was like totally intently listening because I'm like, what are we?
What are we
like? I know
talking
it's
about?
mental health, but what do
Right.
you want me to talk about today? How does that
So,
look? I've been
So
curious.
the way we do things is very unscripted,
Well, no,
and,
but I just
and
meant for you what that meant.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
what is she going to ask me today, or how does it?
Right.
How does it look? I've been curious.
So what I want to know from you, Tiffany, is tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you here?
I love that question. Right? I thought about that on the way here.
Yeah.
A couple things real quick come to mind because most people don't, in regards to depression and anxiety, it's a gift that we don't even realize because you have the ability to go, why am I here? Right? Because what is depression? It's the loss of purpose.
It is.
And a lot of people don't have the capacity to even question it. They just do it. Right? So if you have that, we're told that's a burden. But what if we flip that and we give gratitude for the gift of wondering, what's my purpose? Why am I here? right?
Right.
One of my favorite mentors, Greg Braden, that's like what he does. Like this man travels the world. He is one of my favorite humans. He's got a lot of credentials and a lot of experience, and he's this fantastic, knowledgeable, wise man. And he said he's been studying human origins as a whole. So I really get into this because I get into ancient history and like unknown history, you know, and so his whole thing is like he studies human origins. So why are we here? And most people literally never ask that. And what is depression? It's the loss of purpose, right? Like I don't know. And we think of that like you have that moment in your car. I don't know what I'm here. Well, you just lost that purpose.
Right.
But if you can flip that around and realize, okay, I'm getting this signal for a reason. I was thinking about you on the way here. I literally was all of this because, okay, you had this moment in your car and I have this beautiful life from the outside.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And then I'm sitting here in my car going, I'm lost. I'm really lost. I need something. Well, what comes to mind is I've seen a meme and it says, it's Jim Carrey. And it says, when you are depressed, it's your avatar telling you you're sick of the game you're playing.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And it's like, yes, right?
Yeah.
So because think about it, out of what you experienced, you had to go to that depth.
I did.
In order to create this. And now look at this.
Right.
Look at this.
everything
Now you're
that's
in
come
art
out of
prize
it.
and like this is just the very small beginning of something that's going to be huge and so impactful. Right?
Right.
For so many people.
Right.
That it's like, wow, but you would have never gotten there.
No.
Without that
No.
depth,
Oh, no,
right?
not at
so
all.
you
Yeah.
needed that. It's like anxiety. You know, I have anxiety. Well, who the fuck doesn't?
Right.
Especially if you're an adult. I always say that. I have somebody very close to me, and their entire life, they're literally bedridden from anxiety. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry that society has told you that that's acceptable. Because here's what anxiety is. Anxiety is your experience coming through. It's telling you, warning, you've done something like this or seen something like this and it didn't feel good before. So you might get hurt. Yeah.
Right.
That's very true. That's with reason. It's a warning to you. So you can be afraid of it. Oh, I better not do this. Oh, things are scary. Or you can lean into it and go, oh, okay, I'm nervous. What is this telling me? Why am I nervous? You know? And then there are natural tools. Like today, I brought the lemon balm with me because I'm very anxious, right? So if I'm going to be publicly speaking, things of this nature, if I'm leading a circle, I know that there will be nerves present. I have them, right?
Right.
The women there probably have them. So I'm like, sure, if anybody wants this is a plant medicine. It's lemon balm. And you just put it under your tongue and it helps with anxiety. You guys felt it. It probably helped you pretty quickly.
Loved it. I did.
Yeah, so this is my tool.
Quick.
It's a natural tool, lemon balm. I keep it in my purse. I offer at my circles. I have it out through all of my retreats because it's a tool I use for anxiety. So I can check it. The truth is, yes, I have shared my truth before and it has hurt me. So I naturally get anxiety before because I'm being very vulnerable, right? So I spent a long time having a really hard time with vulnerability. And I remember I was having this session with an individual and they said, oh, you really struggle with vulnerability. And I was like, ugh. I wasn't very comfortable in this situation. I don't really want to speak to that too much, but it was an interesting whole experience. But I went home and my husband was in his office and I walked in and I said, so the practitioner said I have an issue with vulnerability. What do you think? And he goes, you think? And I was like, what? And he
Very
goes,
confirming.
Tiffany, you don't even get drunk with me because you don't like to be vulnerable. And I was like, yeah, yep, okay. And then I sat with that and I was like, that is so true.
Right.
So true. I do not like to be out of control at all. When I was younger,
we've talked about that before.
Yeah. So it's a practice in vulnerability. So now this is part of my medicine, right? I have to show up, but it doesn't mean I don't do it without anxiety.
Right.
I absolutely have anxiety all the time. I'm an adult. I always say to my husband, like anxiety is the defining factor of becoming an adult. Because when you're a child, you're reckless. You don't have to think about anybody else. Cause and effect. Like doesn't, it's like, oh, that happened. I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But then as you mature with experiences, you're like, oh, maybe that doesn't feel good. Maybe that doesn't. Right. Well, that's all with reason. But we don't need to be afraid of it. Right? It's like, okay, what is this telling me? What is this showing me? What do I need to know from this? Because it's all very instinctual.
Right.
That feeling. Right?
Yes.
So it's like,
and you're touching your belly intentionally.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think
we
should talk about that, right? Because like we were talking about before, I think a lot of people don't know when they're feeling anxiety, that's what they're feeling.
Oh, that's a
you know
good
what I'm
one.
saying?
Yeah.
So yes, you feel that in your belly, like your
talks
gut
to you.
Your gut
you need
is a
to
huge
learn
indicator.
to listen to what your body is saying to you.
Yes.
It's not just, oh, I ate something a little off or this.
Right.
Listen to your body. It reacts and responds to your moods, your environment, the things that are
It's such an
affecting it.
intelligent
It's gonna
creation.
and if
It is.
And you
It
can
really
use
is.
it or you can abuse it, right? Or neglect
Yes.
it.
Right.
But yes, I do touch my belly for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, like I went to school for holistic health and they tell you like IBS, that's an emotional. People think it's like, oh, my guts are messed up. And no, it's completely in your head. You don't realize, but that's a mind disease. IBSs, those even. I'm naturally an empath, so it goes back. Are we recording again? Can we talk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Goes back to body cues again. Like I'm an empath, and so I feel that. So I naturally use protections.
Yes.
I wear layers. Like people that know me know that I'm probably not going to take my coat off because I have to be real comfortable.
Right.
For a long time, I was meeting during COVID with a homeschool families. We would go to this certain person's house and I would wear my coat and I wear my coat always. And then one day I took it off and she was like, oh, like this is a big deal. You must feel comfortable here. You're taking your coat off. And I was like, oh, it's funny that you noticed that about me. Cause yes. I intentionally wear protective layers.
Yeah.
I really do. And
interesting. I hadn't stopped to think of it.
Think of this plays into natural things as well. I wear oils every day. So I wear patchouli because it's a natural antidepressant. So I wear that for me because I love that smell. That's me. My husband always calls patchouli dirty hippies. Anywhere we walk by, he'll be like, dirty hippie. But he loves my smell.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have so many people, particularly men. It always makes me laugh because they'll be like, I love your smell. And I'm like, thanks. And they're like, but you're wearing patchouli. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's gross. It stinks, but I love it on you. Well, it does smell different on different people.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
And they always go on to say, like, it reminds me of a dirty hippie. And I'm like, thanks. And they're like, but you don't smell that way. It's like your smell. And I'm like, thanks. But I wear patchouli strictly for me. Like I had to tell my husband says now, like, anytime I smell patchouli, I will always think about you. And anytime I smell dill pickles. Like if we never worked out and I smelled dill pickles, I'd be like, oh, Tiffany. Because I love dill pickles.
I do too. Oh my goodness, yes.
So those are smells. But I wear patchouli for me because that's for me. That's what, and I notice on the days I don't wear it. Even if I don't get up or leave my house, every day by ritual, I put on my patchouli. That helps me. And then come to find out down the road, that's a natural antidepressant. And I was like, there you naturally find your own medicine. I truly believe that.
I believe that too.
I put on an oil blend called Passion intentionally so I can speak from my heart. Like it grounds me in my heart. So I rub it right down here both days.
I love it.
And then I put on Nag Champa to be able to speak my truth. So every morning I put on these 3 oils. That's my secret blend, everybody, is sweet patchouli, sweet patchouli on the wrist, Passion down my throat and onto my chest, and then like over my heart. And then I put Nag Champa over my throat. So I am able to speak my truth. And I intentionally do that. Those are all tools right there. That's a ritual.
Yes.
People get really afraid of that word. And it's like, no, we all have so many rituals.
Everybody's
You said
got
you put on
rituals.
this necklace.
Absolutely.
This has become my ritual. And now if I don't have it on, it's like, it takes me a minute to realize something is off. Something is off. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is not there. It's become part of my ritual. And it literally does affect
Yes.
how I feel now.
Yes.
Literally.
Right.
It's been the most interesting experiment ever. I had no idea that something this simple that was
Yes.
just going to be this temporary thing, just this little
And you-
reminder to myself, I'm trying to be a better person.
Yeah.
And
You said love, right? You have
Yes.
heart earrings. You intentionally put this on
Yes.
to be from a place of love.
Yes.
That's what you shared earlier.
Yes.
Not to interrupt, but
Yes,
you didn't just say that,
absolutely.
but that was your intention as you put it on.
It was very intentional.
So that brings me around to the beginning of this when we were talking about like this, the human origins, right? Or asking that question, what is my purpose? Why do I do this? Well, Greg Braden's best friend is Bruce Lipton, and he has denounced himself from doctor. He's been like a Harvard professor, doctor. He was a cellular biologist in the 80s. So he's a very...
One of those kind of doctors. Very...
He was a doctor by trade.
Yes.
That is a very much so part of his thing. But the more he studied, the more he realized that this wasn't it. So his whole, like his book that, I don't know if he's most famous for that, but one of his very popular books is The Biology of Belief. And he proves with science that that's what we know to date. So
Yes.
I'm kind of a nerd, and I really, like I said, I walk to a different drum, right? So I base that on truth as far as I can tell. So I'm pretty social, but I'm a pretty big geek when it comes down to it, and I can read some heavy context.
That's why I like you.
Yeah, the foundation. So like, so I
And I
know
clicked right away. I was like, yep.
I know what I'm talking about because I've dug and got
Yeah.
the dirt to build my solid foundation, right? And so he says that it goes back to our belief. You know, he said he went to his guides and he said, why do if it's so hard to be here on earth, this experience, why come? Like, why? And then he said, of course, they were Jewish comedians. He doesn't claim to be a practicing Jew now, but he was raised Jewish. And so he said, of course, they were Jewish comedians. And they said, well, what's chocolate taste like? And he's like, what? And he's like, why come here and you're asking me what chocolate tastes like?
Right.
And they're like, you would not know. What's sex feel like? What's love? Like you came for the experience. Yeah. So what's the purpose of this life? The experience that you have. All religions across the whole tell us two things. They tell us that something created us intelligently,
Right.
Yes.
intentionally, right? And we can look at all of us individually and see that we're all very different individuals.
Right.
So we are with intelligent design, undeniably, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So if that's the case, if we were intentionally created, okay, there's a creator, and then every religion across the board tells us that this is temporary. Something's to come, whether it be heaven,
Yes.
nirvana, something.
Whatever that religion
Something
calls
comes.
their next.
That's right. Yep. Something comes after this. So why do I share that? Because what's the point of this? To collect the experiences, to enjoy it, right? I mean, if you think about it, your creator.
It's so freeing.
Okay. Yes. Like
So
think about
freeing.
it. Your creator, does your creator want you to suffer? Do they want you to be miserable and suffer? Like you can look out into the world and see all these individual beautiful creations and you think they made these beautiful creations
Yes.
and then they're like, you need to suffer.
I know.
Or is it like a loving, healthy father figure, if you will, because we're from West Michigan, or well, you live in West Michigan. So Christian theology is going to play very important here, right? So we're told that there's a man in the sky and so if you want to think of it that way, wouldn't that be a loving father that wants the absolute best? And if we're being honest, if you're a healthy father, you always want the absolute best for your child.
Right.
Right? And if you created that child and you were intentional with that child, then what's the moral of that story? Self-love, be authentic, right?
Yes.
Society tells us something completely different.
Oh, for sure.
And it is with reason as well, because it's control, it's manipulation.
Absolutely.
It's patience, it's customers, right?
Yeah.
So if you can be very freeing, like you said,
Right.
to just be yourself, and that's what feels good,
Yeah.
then that's what it's for, right? That's the
Be
point.
yourself.
So to enjoy the
Yeah.
ride and know that have you guys heard of the book, The 4 Agreements? Okay. Fantastic book. Readers, read this book.
We'll put a link to it.
What people that are watching, read this book, The 4 Agreements. It's very amazing. And they talk about, it's the Toltec wisdom. So it is an ancient theology, but take what you will.
Right.
I guarantee even if you don't believe in their religious context, you'll be able to find nuggets of gold
Right.
amongst the context. And what they say is that depression, like we have a different view. Our society tells us that you shouldn't feel.
Right.
If you feel
Exactly.
something that doesn't feel good, there's a pill for that.
Oh, I hate that.
Right?
So then you
Like,
stop feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially as women. Oh my
Right.
gosh. Oh,
Right.
we need to feel, right? And that what the Toltec wisdom says is that, I think they call it suste. I can't think of how they pronounce it, but it's they equate it to a butterfly. So you turn inward as a larva, your whole world disappears, right? It is eaten from within.
Yes.
But you have to have that in order to emerge. So every time you have a depressive episode, like for you,
Right.
sitting in your car, why am I here? I've lost purpose. Well, because your avatar was sick of the game you were playing. It was lost. And now you needed that creative outlet to be yourself, to
Right.
something bigger than you, something more, right? Because you were doing all those things, but there was something wrong. There was something
was.
missing.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, I don't know. I have everything, which comes with so much shame and guilt
It does.
because you have a great husband, because you have beautiful children, you have a beautiful home.
Right.
I mean, that hits home for me. Be thankful for what you have, but
Right.
something is missing. What is it? Well, you weren't having your creative spark. That's what you came here, is to create,
Right.
right? Your
My
life,
reason to get up and out of bed.
your life is
morning.
your creation. That's a hard truth for so many people. Victims don't like that.
To piggyback on that,
I've got
I think
so many thoughts going
like,
on.
but as a mom, I felt very guilty, and as a wife, that those weren't my reasons to just get up and
Yes.
go. You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're my world. I mean, last
Absolutely.
week when we did the play thing, that's what came out. That's my entire world.
Right.
But I needed something, like you were saying, that creative outlet in order to reach farther.
Yeah.
And so I really struggle, and I think a lot
So
of
that was
moms
with
can
purpose,
relate
though.
to that, though, that they feel guilty. Like, why is this not enough to
Yes.
fulfill me? Why
Yes.
is this not enough to make
Right.
me jump out of bed in the morning and be so super excited? And that's something that I think it needs to be okay.
Yeah.
That it's
Well,
okay.
again, the
that-
normalization of it, that's not wrong.
Right,
I'm
because
so
I'm
sick of
still a
mental health
person.
because we talk about it and we use it as a victim mentality. And it's like, no,
Right.
you need to learn how to make that healthy. You're supposed to have those feelings.
Right.
They're
That's what-
absolutely supposed to.
That's
They are
what
with
I
reason.
can't get past, because we had touched on it with so many of the medications that get prescribed. It makes you flat.
Yes.
You're not experiencing feelings.
No, you're just
women,
numb.
especially, are created specifically.
Yes.
We feel.
That is our intelligence.
And now
Unapologetically, we feel.
are taking
No, we
it-
are so we are
Yeah,
we should be
apologetically trained.
unapologetically.
Yes.
Yes.
We are trained to have
So
shame
now
and not feel
we
and don't have those
medicate
things.
feelings out of you.
Yeah. At
So
our own
now
expense.
it's a completely unnatural state
Absolutely.
for a woman to exist in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's no wonder it's just getting worse and worse and worse
Absolutely.
and worse.
Yes.
And that's
Going
been my
flat
exact
is not helping anything.
No.
It's not mental health. Because that's what, so I was thinking about this on the way here. What is mental health? Because we touched on this earlier. I do not I've worked in a medical office, but I am not a doctor. So
Right.
I'm not clinically trained.
But do you play
Right.
one on TV? No, I'm just
No, I don't. But to not have these feelings, and we're told that that's okay. Like, no, again,
it isn't.
especially as a woman. We are literally hardwired to be emotional for a reason.
Absolutely.
You
It's
know,
our
and then we're
nature.
not
It's-
told that
we're
in
made of.
society. We're told to take a medication or talk to somebody, but talk therapy works for some, but it only goes so deep, and it only works for some people. It doesn't work for everybody. You know?
Yeah.
I think that like the intelligence of our emotions, if we're just able, like you said, if we mask them, it comes at the expense of us.
Yes. So then what is your purpose? How do you figure
You don't
that out
know.
when you have no
Because you're numb.
emotion?
Because then you're robotic. You're just going through the motions
You're-
and doing
right.
the life, but
Oh,
you're not.
everything
But you're
It's
miserable.
attaching,
You're
not
miserable,
feeling
or
anything.
you're not
Right.
feeling it because
Just
it's like
rebelling against that whole idea. Oh my goodness. I know that the lows don't feel good, but there is a purpose.
They're not
in them.
supposed to, because you don't
There's a
you don't
purpose.
want
You
to
don't want to
stay
get
there.
comfortable there.
That's
right.
exactly.
Yeah,
You don't want to stay there. They're supposed to be
Yes.
uncomfortable.
So you don't.
So you
yeah.
have to dig yourself out, because otherwise you would stay there. So no, that's, if you can think about that, like with reason, like, oh, okay, all right, this is, and now, I mean, and it's not that you know everything, but it's like, okay, I'm not feeling good. What's not feeling good? And sometimes you may not even know. The truth is, you may not be able to identify it, you know? And maybe it lasts an hour. Maybe it lasts 3 weeks.
Right.
Maybe it lasts 3 months. COVID was brutal to me. COVID was my third dark night of the soul. And I'm still crawling my way out of it. I'm intentionally creating safe spaces for connection again,
Right.
because it was so brutal to me.
It was
So
the
brutal.
worst. Like,
Yeah.
It was.
I need people. And it's so funny because I had spent so many decades removing myself from people, like closed off in this little thing. And then I get to a place where it's like, people.
COVID turned me into a
and
hugger.
then they're gone.
Yeah.
They're just gone. And then when you could finally go out, people are making a wide berth around you. Nobody makes eye contact. Nobody wants to be close.
And this is still our reality,
And
truthfully.
people
It is.
still,
It is.
it's like,
You
people
still
just
cough in
stayed
public
this
and people
bubble.
are like, and I'm like, okay, I
So-
thought we were past that, but okay.
I
You know,
know,
like,
yeah.
that's,
And
Yeah.
then, there's me where I'm like, hug? You want to hug?
Yeah. Well, see, I was not a hugger.
Conversation,
I was
but-
not raised by overly, definitely not physically attention people. I didn't have physical attention growing up. So I am not a hugger. I don't mind hugs, but I'm not going to initiate it. That's just not who
not
I
your first
am.
thought, right.
No. But I totally believe in them.
right.
You give me COVID and I'm like, you want a hug? Can we hug? Let's hug. Can I get a hug? Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I needed that, right?
Yes.
Like, and then there again, that's a mental health thing
It
right
is.
there. So we talk about, like, you have your physical body you're responsible for. You know, if you're going to lay on the couch and eat potato chips and drink gallons of pop a day, it's going to show.
There's going to be consequences.
There's going to be consequences.
Yes.
You're going to be 35 pounds heavier.
Yep.
You're going to move slower.
Yep.
That's your choice, right? And I'm not here to judge you, but that's you. We know about physical health.
Right.
Yes.
We're told about physical health.
And you can see physical health.
And you can see physical health.
Yes.
But what we're not taught about is mental health.
Right.
And that is just
Normalizing
as
it.
important,
If not more.
if not more. I mean, I think there's a balance, right?
Right.
But just because we're so out of balance with it,
Do you think that the physical health can be harder to maintain if you don't get the
Without a
mental
doubt.
health
Yes.
100%.
balance first?
100%.
I think that's just a fallout. Why are you just sitting on that couch with your potato chips and your pop, mindlessly clicking through the TV?
Because you're in a
your
fog.
Space
You're
here
yeah.
is not healthy. It's not balanced, and I think that's a fallout.
Yeah.
Take
Well, it's
care
really
of
easy.
this,
Yes.
and things start to. At
And you know
least in
what's-
my experience,
Yeah,
just-
100%.
I
100%.
can
And
even
you have
see
to
that.
work at it too.
You do.
It's not like I'm going to do this. I have one friend, I love her, and she's like, I'm healed. And I'm like, oh, honey, that layer is healed.
Right.
I'm
And
healed.
yes,
I just,
yes,
and I'm
we
like,
need to talk about that more for just a minute because
That
that
layer's
is huge.
healed.
That is huge. We talked about that with a friend of ours that we both know, and she had lost both of her parents very recently, kind of around her birthday. She's like, "Why do I still feel like this?" And I'm like, "Well, first of all, it just happened, like
Yeah,
very,
it's
very
new.
recently. Second of all." It takes a lot of time, and it's different for everybody.
Absolutely.
And then something might trigger it here, or something might trigger it.
Absolutely.
We talked about that with Aaliyah too,
Yes.
who had lost her mom a couple years ago.
Yes.
And the smell or a taste or
Yes.
something when
Memories.
you think, oh, I'm good. For now, I think I'm doing
you
good.
can be.
And then
Oh, for
all of
sure.
a sudden something triggers
and then it crashes back.
and then people feel like, why am I still feeling like this? I'm
Like they
because
failed
you
or
are a
something.
human being. That is
Yes.
because you're not written in code. You're not
absolutely.
a robot.
Because you're human.
not-
No, that's
because you're
literally,
human.
Yes.
because you're human.
Yes.
That's how you were designed.
And like
it
you
was
were
with
saying, in the
reason.
complexity of how we are designed, our minds are just as complex. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Like, hugely. We don't even
Yes.
know the full extent of how our minds
Truth.
work. We've always claimed, like, as a part of the podcast, we're not professionals.
What?
We are not. We don't have a degree in whatever
am.
we're talking about.
I'm
But
in
we're
a
talking
degree
from
in
a
nothing.
place of our own personal stories with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what's worked and what hasn't worked. And we're just being as open and authentic. And I was just explaining to a woman yesterday who was going to help me do some grant writing, and I was explaining all of this to her. And she's like, the world needs more people like you. And I was like, oh, well, thank you.
You mean real? More real?
But, right. And
My mentors said that out in
yeah.
Sedona. They said, you know what the world doesn't need any more of? We don't need more doctors. We don't need more lawyers.
Right.
We don't need any more workers. We need more healers.
Yeah.
Just more people who can connect and aren't afraid. So whatever that looks like for you, be authentic.
Yeah, because
And
the
then
world
make
is
those
so
authentic
full of fake.
connections.
Absolutely.
Please.
Yeah. I mean, and I spent a long period of my life, probably into my mid 30s, being fake. I mean, I
tried
didn't
to be so
fully
many
let go
things.
of all of that. I do remember turning 40 though, and I was like, what? Like, okay, here we go, and mid 40s is even more fun.
Oh, wait till you hit
But I'm
50.
trying
It's
to
when it gets
figure
really
out-
good, so
And I don't even know if it's possible, but I'm trying to figure out how to back up that timeline. Why is it when we turn 40 that we feel free? When we turn 50, we feel free.
You know
But
why?
why
You
not
can't.
when we turn 30 or 20?
Because you don't have that experience. I remember
you're still
I had
learning.
a roommate and she
learning.
I think she's 4 years younger than me. And she would call me and be like, Mama, I have so much anxiety. I have so much anxiety. And she's like, how do you just feel so comfortable in your skin? And I would say, I don't. I would say, I'm just been in it longer than you.
right.
oh, yeah.
I'm just
I've
So
just
I'm
been
just
in
a
it
little
longer.
true.
I've
That
just
is true.
endured more
I'm
than
that
you.
much further down the road, and
I had the blessing of having my first dark night of the soul at 20 years old. I woke up one day, my fiance didn't. And I didn't know why I was breathing. And in that moment, like we talk about mental health and physical health and natural health that we can do, if nothing else, if you're in that hole and you can't figure your way out, breathe. That's all you have to do. In that moment, breathe. Focus on your breath. What if, and I'm not saying I'm right because I am no expert. My dad always says, what do you know? And my husband always says, little to nothing at best. And I love that.
yes.
Right?
Yep.
Like,
so
yes.
it's so
But
true.
what if breath is spirit?
I believe
Right.
that it is.
You're a paramedic.
Yeah.
We had this
Yes.
discussion before we
I
started.
believe that it is.
Right? You
I learned
know,
so
you've
much from
seen
that job.
Yeah, you've seen the difference between life and death. We talked about
And
it.
I've been part of the process of that spirit leaving.
That's
And
what I mean.
can
That's what I
tell
mean. If you
that
haven't
is-
had that experience, you wouldn't know. But I have been unfortunate or fortunate enough to have two people die in my arms: a stranger from a motorcycle accident, and then my fiance. And to know that there is a distinct difference between the moment when they are alive and then there is the moment when they are dead. And there's a very distinct difference. When the man in the motorcycle accident died, his son was giving him CPR. He died in front of us and he smacked him as hard as he could. And he was like, Dad, and then he
Yeah.
just fell over. And I was like, wait, I'm not giving up on this guy, even though we knew.
you know.
Right.
You knew in that moment that he checked out.
physically
Yeah, because you've
felt what
experienced
you were
it.
saying, and
Yes.
there is the spirituality when that soul leaves in that moment. It has struck me over and over, and I knew immediately.
Yeah, that's
I
what-
didn't have to look at a monitor. I didn't have to
You
look
just
at
know.
anything. I knew immediately when.
Yeah. So what
It
if
was
that's
just
breath?
gone.
And what if we're in this symbiotic relationship with breath? And what if breath is spirit? So we can take it in as much as we want and we can put it out as much. We always have it
Right.
naturally.
Yep.
Right? That's what distinguishes you between life and death.
Yes.
But we can have more of it if we want, or we can have less of it. And when we're tight and our nervous system is tight and we're stuck in this fight or flight state, we aren't taking breath in. So then we're not fully being our authentic selves because
Not
we
in
are
the
not
whole
filled with spirit.
diaphragm and-
yeah.
yep.
So
Most people never use.
so in
most
that
of this.
moment,
Bring
what
it
can you
in.
do? You can breathe. Right?
Mindful.
Not only can you breathe, it's just breathe. If that's all you can do, just do that. Because that's when I woke up the day after Ben passed and I was at my parents' house and I woke up and my dad came in and he laid in bed and he just fell apart. He was a puddle. The strongest person I knew, my hero, my dad. I'm a daddy's girl. And he has always provided, protected, and made me feel safe above all else. He was a puddle wrapped around me crying. And I just remember thinking, why? And it was like, just why am I breathing? He's not breathing, but I'm still here. Why am I breathing? Yeah. So it was in those moments, just breathe, just breathe. Because of that situation, months down the road, I found myself in a very desperate place. I'd actually blocked this out until somebody reminded me about it, the person that was in this thing. And I was like, wow, you're not a friend because you left me. He left me in this moment when it was the most desperate point of my life. This individual that I was spending time with left me. And I was like, there was literally nowhere else in the world that was more important to be, but you chose to leave at that time, which is fine. I made it. I remember praying to God to please strike me with lightning because I wasn't going to take myself out, but I really didn't know
why am I still here?
How to carry on.
Right.
So I sat in my doorway and I just cried and I made it. And I just was, but the whole time I was just breathing. I literally remember just thinking, okay, just breathe. That's all I can do right now. I laid on the floor. I closed the door, laid on the floor and cried and just breathed. It was just breathing. What I'm being called to say is this analogy about God. I have a couple of them that have just really, really struck me, and it ties into this spirit and breath. And Dr. Wayne Dyer said, if you take a jar, right? And we live by Lake Michigan, and I was just out at Lake Michigan with my last retreat. So I take a jar of Lake Michigan water, and no matter where I take this jar, it's always going to be Lake Michigan water. I can take it home and I can put it on my shelf, and you can come over and I'd be like, look at my jar, Lake Michigan water. Look at Lake Michigan, it's beautiful. And I could carry that jar with me and be like, this is my Lake Michigan. This is Lake Michigan. I can take it home and I can bury it in my closet and put it in a box and never see it again. The entire time, it's Lake Michigan. Right? It remains Lake Michigan.
Yes.
Then I can take it back out and go, look, I found my Lake Michigan water.
Yeah.
It's still here. It's my Lake Michigan water. It's beautiful. This is my Lake Michigan. And I can be like, I'm sick of that. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to put this decoration up. And it still remains Lake Michigan.
Hasn't changed
No
at all.
matter what I do to it, where it goes, it still remains Lake Michigan water. And I can take that jar of Lake Michigan water and I can go to Lake Michigan and I dump it back into Lake Michigan. The entire time, it remains Lake Michigan. That's what God is. That's what we are. We are spirit in an avatar, and we remain that no matter where we go. And we can have as much God, creator, source, spirit as we so choose. And we can decorate it and celebrate it, or we can hide it and deny it. But the entire time, it's within us.
Right.
We don't get to separate it.
Yeah.
Right? And we can use it as much as we want, or we can deny it. And what if it's simple as it's air? You know, we have this symbiotic relationship with the trees outside, right?
Right.
They take in our exhaust and we breathe in their exhaust and we need them.
We need them.
We need breath. What if we
need
just
it.
simple need to do that? And I always say the importance of breath work. It was so profound. I had been studying natural healing, I think, for well over a decade when I found breath work. And I remember the facilitator who led it said she had been studying natural modalities the exact same amount of time as I had. She had a background in massage therapy. So we just had very many similarities, you know? And she said, this is by far the most profound healing experience that I found. And that triggered me. I was like, what? I didn't know I was going for breath work that night. I just showed up to the weekly session that I continuously showed up for. And then I got there and I had to sign a liability form. And I was like,
Oh, what are you doing to me?
that's a little weird. Like, well, what's going on here? You know? And I was like, okay, like I'm responsible for my own breath and my heart. Okay. Yeah,
okay,
all
right.
right. Okay.
Guess
my
I'm
own breath and my
adventurous.
heart.
I'm like,
So, but from that, yes, breath, because this is what I always say. I go on, there's very many different ways to practice breath. Just simply breathing in a nourishing breath and breathing out.
and feeling it.
Yes, you
Thinking
can
of it,
breathe in. I'm
awareness
filling
of it.
myself with love. And I can exhale the bullshit, right? Breathe in the good.
Yep.
Exhale the bullshit. And that in itself is a profound breathing exercise.
It truly is.
You can breathe in for 4. You can hold for 4.
Box breathing.
And you can let go for 4. Here's why this is important. Because it shows you your power.
Yeah.
You can hold it. And then you can let go of it.
Right.
Why is that important? Because if you can control your mind, you can control your body. And if you can control your mind and your body, then you can control your reality. And nobody else can do that for you.
Yep.
I do an I am activation at my retreats. And the power of I am. People don't know this. We abuse our words so bad. I'm an idiot. I'm a dumbass. I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm broken.
I hate
I'm
that. Don't put that out in the universe.
Exactly.
Don't speak that out there.
No. So then you refill it because nobody else can say I am for you.
Absolutely.
I am in alignment. Once you're in alignment, as you felt, you're riding the highs.
Right.
It feels so good.
Right.
And then when you fall out, because I'll be honest, I bet you will have a time where you
I
fall
already
out
did.
of alignment.
But I
And
already did. And it was when I was finished collecting my last smile.
Okay.
Right. And then I had to shift gears from seeing people every day, all day
do the
long,
work.
gathering all of these smiles. And then I was like, oh, and I crashed. I mean, just crashed. And very few people know that except for my husband. But I went probably a week of just down low. And I remember saying, I thought I was done with this. Why am I
Layers.
right
Yes.
back here again? I thought this was where I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to be doing and all of this. But it has been January, February, March, April, May.
Yes.
It has
And
been
that is life, right?
just
It's like the
that.
way to life. You've ever seen that? And it's like,
Yes.
right. And it's like,
And
yeah,
that's-
it's never
that's
this,
actually
right? And if you were always in 100% divine alignment, riding the highs, you wouldn't know to
It
fall
wouldn't
out
feel
to be
any
better.
different, right?
That's what we
Right.
came for. Those emotions, those experiences,
And how do
those
you
feelings.
revel in those amazing experiences if you've
Without the
never
darkness.
had the lows?
Right.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
the truth.
because then it would
There
just
is
feel
no,
normal.
There is no
if
light
you're up
without
there
darkness.
all the time, it
Yeah.
would just be
Right?
like, oh, this is a normal day.
Yeah.
You know, there would be nothing special about it and nothing exciting
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, even after the gala that we had, I felt the most alive that night that I
Yeah,
had
you could
felt.
see. You
Oh,
were
you were
beaming.
forever.
You were
Just like-
radiating.
And Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, sicker than a dog.
Well, okay.
Like my body
That's-
just
That's energy. And if you're
crashed.
not
And I
used
was
to
like,
it, and oh,
okay, you know, but again,
Yeah.
it was like, all right, that was that, you know, anyways, but yeah, it is. But the difference is that I haven't been sitting in those moments. I haven't just been sitting in them.
You've been
I have
handicapped by
been
those moments, paralyzed.
intentionally questioning, like, okay, why is this hitting me like this? And why is this? And I'm speaking more about it and
Yes.
saying,
Yes.
my anxiety is really high right now.
Yes.
I don't know why. There's no reason. And I find myself saying those words quite a bit, saying, I don't know what triggered it. I'm feeling it. I know that it's happening and I'm trying to figure it out. But even if I can't find that answer, I'm aware of it and I
Yes.
know
Awareness
about it.
is everything. That's the
And
first
then I
step in
try
literally
to
anything,
share,
right?
Like I try to share with my family. This is how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
It's nothing that you guys did. This is just where I'm at. You
And
know?
you're modeling healthy living
Yes.
for your kids, and they
Yes.
will learn how to say the same thing to the people in their lives.
Yes.
This is how I am feeling right now. This is where I'm at right now. It takes the fear of it away. And
Yes.
maybe we can get back to
normalize it.
realizing that it's actually that is the normal. Everybody
And it's healthy. Here's the thing.
everybody's saying they want to
depression
feel normal.
and anxiety is
Yes.
healthy. That's what we need to break the stigma of. We are told it is so awful and bad and that you are a victim if you have this. No, you're not. You absolutely should have it. You're a human having human experiences. Those are a human experience.
Yes.
That's what you came for.
But not letting it completely overtake your life or define who you
Right.
are. You know, I think that's the difference.
Well, when you're told all
society
the
tells
time
you.
that it
Right.
means
To do
that
that.
something's broken or wrong or bad, and then when it does happen, that's what you hang on to. I'm broken. This is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
This is bad, and I need to be back to normal, like all these people that are
Yep.
like even keel all the time.
Yes.
which isn't normal.
No.
But because we're
Again-
told that, it causes us to think we are so profoundly broken.
Yes.
Because I go.
I've said
like
those
this.
exact words.
And now
Why am I broken? Why am I broken?
love the fact that I have highs and lows because I've realized it makes
So you
my
can connect
highs
with other
so
people.
Beautiful. My
Totally.
highs are
Right.
beautiful.
Why are you broken? Because we're all broken.
Right.
I had this profound experience in Sedona and we were doing heart brain coherence. And I intentionally called God upon God. And I was like, because, well, maybe not everybody is here. This is where the game that I was playing. And I was like, I'm not messing around here. So I'm going right to the source. Like if I'm supposed to have these amazing gifts, that's what my husband says, you're gifted. And I'm like, I think I'm just the same as everybody. I'm just maybe more attuned to it and know, right? Like, but I can't deny it. Like that's what he's like, if you're being honest, you're different. And I'm like, okay. So anyways, I went right to source and I said, I'm scared. You know what the response was? That's the point. Yeah. Everybody is. And I was like what? And I was like, but will you still love me? And it was like, I've always loved you. I'll always love you. Yeah. Like there's nothing you can do
that will change that
to separate. And even in those darks and those lulls and everything else, they're with reason because you wouldn't know the highs. I have 2 of my very best friends who have lost teenage children.
Oh, same.
It is awful. And what I can tell them is while I pray to God, I never know that experience firsthand. Yeah. I also know that I will never know the highs that they've experienced. They have the potential to experience because I pray to God I never know the lows that they've experienced. Right? But you don't get that high without that low.
Yeah, my husband lost 2 of his children in a car accident.
Oh.
And I love that he is now at this point, and we're a ways past it, but he's speaking much more openly about them, and about all those feelings and the profoundness and depth of that loss.
Yes.
The awareness of it. But now the way he's living his life, he goes, I'm going to honor them.
Yes.
I literally want to live a life that they would be saying, they're just so proud of me.
Right.
Yes. And that is how you honor your deceased, right? That is something I learned at a very young age. At 20 years old, I was like, I don't know why I'm alive. Everything that I thought, we just moved into a brand new home. Everything I thought that we were figured out.
Right.
The car I was making payments on, everything.
Yes.
Gone. Like, what? Why now?
Right.
I don't know. But what I knew was that he had this big personality. That's what drew me to him. I was down at Blues on the Mall one day and I saw this dude. Blues on the Mall. Yeah, I know, missed it. Well, I was like, miss it, right? Totally down at Rosa Park Circle. Was down there and here's this goofball, this gorgeous man. He's like 6'2", wearing overalls, one of them undone. This is not the 90s. And I was like, who does this guy think he is? Who does this guy think he is? Crisscross? Like, what are you doing? But he was jamming. Like, he did not care. And I was like, I don't know who that guy is, but I want to know who that guy. I'm going to know who that guy is.
That was my
And that
husband.
was what attracted me to him. It was that he had this bigger than life personality, right?
It was my desire to find out why. Why do you live life that way? Why are you so joyful?
I didn't even have that. I didn't even have that intelligence yet to know why. I just was like, that guy looks like a lot of fun and he looks really good. I'm going to know him. And then my friends are like, he has a girlfriend. I'm like, not for long. No,
her name is me.
No, that's not true. Kind of true. But
It's just kind of true.
I didn't go after him when he had a girlfriend. I was real excited to find out he broke up with said girlfriend broke up with him. I was like, oh yeah, she did. Because that's my man. But after that, I thought about it and I was like, okay, this is my life. I didn't die. He did.
Yeah.
How do I honor him? Because he was able to live and didn't give a fuck what anybody thought.
He lived
this beautiful way. And I was like, that was his essence.
Right.
And I want that. In hindsight, I don't know if he was even aware, but he was sick. And he had been sick as a teen. And then that's what he succumbed to was kidney failure. That's what actually ended up taking him out. So he had a transplant. So when I met him, he presented as normal as anybody else.
Right.
And then what we experienced very fastly, it went very fast, his health, when his body rejected the transplant and everything of that nature. But so I don't know if it was that young, when he had such a life-threatening situation at such a young age, that gave him the ability to live life. Because I think that it probably did. He was really in a hurry to get married and have babies. And I was like, well, you need to slow down.
Urgency.
You need
that
to
a lot
slow
of people
down.
don't
Like
have.
I literally accepted my engagement ring as a promise for another day because I was like, hold the brakes.
Right.
He had a heart attack basically and had
Okay.
open heart surgery. And then after that, he proposed to me. And I was like, this is all a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think he had that
But he
inner urgency, whether he realized it. You know what I mean?
Realized life and how quickly life can come and how quickly life
Yes.
can go.
Yes.
So you live every single moment.
the fullest
and that
potential.
was my husband, just in different experiences. And that was why, because you recognize it can be gone just
Yes.
like that.
I have endured so much loss in my life. It's bonkers. It truly is. And I've had debilitating grief because grief is something where you can't, my children alone have seen their mother bedridden with grief at least twice that they will remember because I lost those loved ones. They lost them, but I lost these people that called me Aunt Tiff, basically. You know what I mean? And I was bedridden. I had to tell my kids something because I was so heartbroken, you know? And that's okay. I'm human.
Right.
I had a human experience.
yes.
I didn't get succumbed by it. I live in their honor, right? So for somebody that's dealing with grief, I think that's a really big key is how do you honor that person?
Right.
What did you enjoy doing with that person? Do that.
Right.
Connect with them that way, right? Live. You're only here for a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things.
Yep.
So what's the point of the story? Might as well try to enjoy it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And experience it because that's what you came for.
Embrace those experiences.
Yeah.
Just embrace it.
Natural health wise, I use lemon balm. I use marijuana. You're talking about anxiety and how you worked in a
Yes.
field that didn't allow it. And I remember I worked
Right.
in the murder.
In the
She worked in the murder girl.
Freudian slip there.
the medical field. I went from working in the medical field to
Yes.
quitting
Yeah.
and going to school full time for holistic health.
Right.
Like night and day. I had my own
Right.
health emergency.
Yes.
I was told you're 24 years old, you're perfectly healthy, take these 6 to 8 pills every day. And I was in chronic pain. And the top neurologist in town was telling me those drugs aren't affecting you that way. And I was like, the fuck they aren't.
Yeah, they
Right.
Like,
are.
why would I be lying to you about this? You guys are, none of what you're offering me is helping me. I literally had every test you could think of. I had MRIs of my brain. I had scopes stuck up my butt, down my throat, all of it.
Yep.
And I was still in pain every day. And my husband said, babe, if those they were talking about MS at the time. And we had a roommate that lost his mom to MS. So it was really scary.
Yes.
And so he said, you've done everything that the medical field can offer you.
Right.
If those scans come back, let's do something else. You've tried to play their game.
I know that all too well.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yep.
So I said, all right, I'm going to completely all out. And I did. And I'll admit, for 10 years, I still had pharmaceuticals for migraines because I got diagnosed with migraines at 8 years old. And that was because that was when they had the technology to see what had happened.
Okay.
I remember pulling my hair out as a kid because the pain hurt in my
so
head.
bad.
And my mother, I remember seeing my mom cry at the hospital because she was like, what? Like, is my daughter possessed?
Right.
I don't
Right.
know
Just
what's going
hurting.
on. She's pulling her hair out. She's lost the color in her face. She's puking. She sleeps for 2 days because they didn't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that was my whole life. They gave me anti-seizure medication. And I would hide them because they doped me up so bad. I'd hide them under my tongue and
those
spit them
are-
out because it was like night and day difference. And I was supposed to take this pharmaceutical, this little green pill, and the way that it made me feel so awful. And then I would be in school trying not to lose my cookies and getting high, like, and it was just such an awful feeling.
Yep.
But that was supposed to help me. And it was like, this doesn't help me. So I would hide it and I'd spit it out because my mom said, you have to take this pill every day. And it was like, this pill
And
makes
she
me...
meant well.
She absolutely. She was just
She's
doing. She
following
was
what the doctors
desperate.
were saying.
She
Yeah.
was desperate
Her
as
daughter.
a mother to help her suffering child.
Right.
Yep.
So absolutely.
I just wish people weren't so leery and would be, generally speaking, far more receptive of holistic approaches towards taking care of self.
Yeah.
Right.
So I worked in the medical
more
field, and I had to hide
researched and
that I
researched
that I used
researched,
marijuana.
And then I worked in pharmacy, and it was even, I am more absolute in my belief that the more natural the remedy, the far better for your body.
Absolutely.
And you will never convince me otherwise. And I now know firsthand that that is indeed the case. The arthritis pain that I had in my lower back, that was that lifting in my job for decades. It's not crippling anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not living chronically hurting all the time. And yeah, you will never, ever, ever convince me that something chemically manufactured is going to be superior than most
I mean,
natural.
if I get in a car accident and
Oh,
I'm in
give me
pieces,
this.
please put me
Yes.
back together.
Sure.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And even as far as a painkiller goes, if I've been put back together and I'm laying in a
Yes,
hospital,
I agree
please
with you on
give
that.
me some pharmaceuticals so I can lay
Yes.
there
And
peacefully.
That's when
Right.
That's what I feel they are for.
Yes.
For those,
in those
a time and a
moments.
reason.
for those situations.
Time and place.
But I don't believe they were ever meant to be a routine every single day for your entire life.
Well, they can, but it depends on what
But
kind of individual you want to be.
And
True.
so I went through
True.
the opposite perspective of you. I was the mom. And so my daughter was in pain for 18 months and debilitating, out on the couch. We had to pull her out of school and everything. Nobody could figure anything out. We had gone to have every scan, every test, every doctor, every, ER visit that we had.
yeah.
She's totally healthy.
Yeah.
And my daughter kept saying, if one more doctor tells me that I am healthy, I'm going to scream,
Yeah.
because she's like,
Yeah.
I'm not faking this. I'm not
Yes.
making this up.
Yeah.
And so from the mom's perspective, like you said, I was desperate.
Yeah.
I would do
Anything.
anything. And so I'm like, here, they've given you these, try this,
Yeah.
which it never ended up being anything that the medical field could help. It was our
probably her-
chiropractor who diagnosed, and then we had to go through physical therapy, and she had a pelvic floor dysfunction.
Oh.
She was 12. This is not a normal thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there was no medicine that they would have ever been able to give her to solve the problem. She
remedy
had to
it.
go through like 16 weeks of a very, very intense acupuncture, physical therapy, and chiropractor appointments all in the same weeks of those weeks to undo everything that had happened.
Body in balance.
And
But
even
had
in
I
a layer
not
that you don't
gone-
know, there might still even be, or maybe not, but an
Right.
energetic component to it. And
Yeah.
if
Well, it
that's very
affected her
real.
immune system and everything.
Yes.
Like now she has a very low immune system, and she had a vitamin D deficiency, and it was all these things. But again, the quote unquote medical field was like, she's totally healthy.
Yeah.
And so
Or let me throw a pill at it.
We went the complete opposite direction and just said, no, we want every kind of holistic thing that we possibly
Yes.
can. And then it answered,
that
like then it
remarkable?
was.
Yeah.
And she kept going, I wish they would find something. I wish they would
'Cause it'd be
find
easier.
something
Just to
because
have an
then they
answer.
could fix it.
Yeah.
Then they could. And I bawled my eyes out when we came home from the chiropractor that day when she first diagnosed it. I'm like, I should pull over. I'm sobbing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I had seen my baby in
Yes.
pain for a year and a half, and it was awful. And I
Yeah.
felt very helpless. So
Yeah.
I do. And unfortunately, we have to wrap up our time here. But I truly believe, and I feel like if we could break the stigma of that, it's just like
that
not
it's so
real
bad.
and it's fake.
Or
like
just
the
how about it that
holistic
it's
is-
so bad?
Right.
Like mental health and the awareness is so bad. Like, no, it's with reason.
right.
Again, it's
Right.
it's indicative of something being off. So dig there. Start there. The
Right.
awareness. What's
Right.
Yeah.
off?
Instead of
What
just trying
can
to
you do?
cover the emotion of it, find out
And if
what lays
nothing
under.
else, if you're stuck in that hole, breathe. Right? And then
'Cause
when you can
that's
take a
living.
full breath and you can get past that,
Yep.
then take that breath for 4, hold that breath for 4 and let it
Yes.
out. Because what that does is let you know again, you are in control.
That small amount of control is huge.
Yeah.
Because when you're
It's
in
huge.
the pit, you don't have control over anything. You're in that pit for a reason. Most of the time it's out of
Right.
your control. So to bring that empowerment, just that little
That
bit of
simple thing.
going, okay, that is one thing I can control.
That's all I can
'Cause
do is just
typically-
breathe.
Yep, your body
And then if
generally
you can
does it
breathe and hold,
automatically all
you
the
can
time. But
educate yourself, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you're going to speak from a place of, if you're breathing and you're getting into good breath, you're going to get into your heart space. And that's where we want to operate from.
Yes.
Truthfully.
yes,
That's our intelligence.
bring it down to that basic
Yep.
in and out, take over, because your body typically is doing it automatically without you even thinking about it.
Yes.
But when you go to the mindfulness of it and you're feeling the action of it, and I love to combine it with our other guest with, my heart.
Yeah.
My heart, every beat, and just being mindful and aware of that. And it's like, I'm living.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am living.
Yeah. And when
I'm
you
right
get
here.
lost, that's what heart brain coherence is. There's a beautiful exercise. You can look it up. It's just like a frequency thing. And then you literally ask, my heart, what do you want me to know in this moment? And you will get an answer.
Right.
And you can use that. And like, am I supposed to take this job? Am I supposed to go here today? And you know what I mean? And then
Yes.
you're
But
operating
they say
from an
trust
ancient
your
place.
gut for a reason.
Amen.
You know, that's not just a statement that is
No.
out there. You
I
know,
know.
you can always feel like when I have peace in my gut, I know that is the right thing. And
Yes.
Yes.
Instinct,
that
especially
icky,
mother's
that
instinct.
icky,
Yes.
like this is something is off. I listen to that because it's
Don't
right
ignore that.
every
Yes.
time. And I've taught my kids that. I mean, from very young ages, I have taught my kids, you trust your gut. You know
Yes.
what it's feeling.
Yes.
And I believe that God speaks to us that way too. That
Yes.
you know we can feel that. And I remember a very distinct moment. My oldest son was maybe 10 or 11, and he was walking or riding his bike home from the park, and not very far from our house. And all of a sudden, he was like, "I think I should cross to the other side of the road." Like he just had that that gut instinct, that feeling.
Like I just need to be there.
And as soon as he got across the road, a car came and hit the building of where he would have been standing.
Ooh,
Right,
yeah.
that
Those
still
things.
gives me chills.
Yeah,
It was
it
almost
does.
10 years
Yeah.
ago, you know.
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
And he's like, Mom, I trusted my gut.
Yeah,
He's like,
do
you
it.
told me to always trust my gut. And so I trust my gut. I mean, I do
Yeah.
that with driving. Like all of a sudden
Yes.
I'll turn on a street
And you
I'll be
don't
like,
feel right.
Nope. And I turn and then I'm like, okay, it's gone. And I just trust that, you know,
Yeah.
what was it? I don't know. I will never
Right.
know what it was that,
Right.
that I was saved from or whatever. But I think that's a huge,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, so important. And I know whenever I've made decisions in the past that have gone against my gut feeling,
It hurts. I just had it this weekend.
I'm like, well, that was dumb. You
My
know,
bus-
like,
what was I thinking?
my
So-
business coach asked me, how many times are you going to hurt yourself with the same thing, Tiffany? Because I didn't follow my intuition. I put somebody else's well-being before my own.
Right.
And it came with an expense. And she said, so how many times are you going to do this to yourself? You're going to keep hurting
know
yourself with
until I'm
this?
done.
She's like, because you got it figured out.
Yep.
And you're the one who keeps hurting yourself with it. And I'm like, oh,
Stop saying those things to
Yes.
me.
But and that's so true. And like Aaliyah said, she alluded to the fact that this is on us. All of this is on us.
Yes.
Things happen around us and things happen in our lives, but we have to own all
Yeah.
of it.
Oh, man,
You know, we
yes.
own our responses to it. We own how long we allow ourselves to be
Yes.
in certain spots.
100%.
Other people can put their hand out to
Right.
to help you, to pick you up. I'm picturing somebody sitting in a hole and somebody can reach their hand out, but
be that
you
boost
have
out.
to be willing
Absolutely.
to reach your hand back up
you
to
have
them.
to stand up
You do.
to begin the climb out. You can't just lay there
100%.
and get drug out as they're just dragging you up. I mean,
Or you can,
and
but then
you're
that's
just
what
gonna lay
you've
there
done.
at the edge
Yep.
of the pit until you roll back down into there because you weren't ready to stand up and go, okay.
Yep. Put your big girl panties on.
Sometimes you get
You know,
comfortable in that
Yep.
place.
It's
so-
interesting. Some people think you fake it till you make it, and other people are stark against it. No, that's how I had to do it. I had to wake up and put my big girl panties on and go to
Just
work.
do it.
I just had to do it. I was literally
not
out of
comfortable.
body. No, I had
it's
out of
hard.
body. I can literally remember vividly watching my body perform the task in the office. I mean, I was at work,
Yeah.
but I wasn't. I could visually see myself down
Observing
there
yourself.
doing those things because I was not. I was just the robot doing
Not
the
connected.
things. But you still got to put your big girl panties on, and you still got to make it. Fake it till you make it. Right? You decide.
I love it.
I decided last year I was going to be a retreat leader. Last June. Now I've had 3 successful retreats because I
Love that.
decided I'm a retreat leader and I'm going to share my medicine with what works with me.
And look at how many people's lives that you've changed because
Truthfully.
you were like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
And you did it.
And I'm not scared. I will not. No, that's not true. I'm 100% scared.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
Best
Right.
things come with a healthy
You-
dose
And I'm
of
just going to
fear,
keep doing
so-
it. Right? I'm just, okay, here we go.
I need to go
Well,
to one
that
of
was
your retreats.
that was like when I entered Art Prize the other day. I was like, I think I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
And I texted Heidi and I was like, I know my goal is big enough now because it makes me want to throw up.
Yes.
Those
Yes.
are the best.
That's it.
Those are the
That's the
best.
best.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
True
I'm
growth
so
is on the other side
excited.
of fear. Always.
It is.
That's the truth. The true growth is
Yes.
always on the other side of fear. And I always wanted this tattoo, and I always thought, like, my brother used to race cars, and I used to go watch him, and it terrifies you. Like, I'm excited, but you're terrified. And I always wanted to get him a bumper sticker for the inside of his car that said, "Fear not, the rest will follow."
Yes,
Because it's true. It's literally how I live my life.
it is.
Right? I got to remind myself. So that's the thing. I think that's the human element. People be like, Tiffany, you have it so figured out. I don't have anything figured out. Make no mistake.
Me neither.
Nothing. Right?
Oh, I got everything figured out. Just ask me for the answers. I'll let you know.
Okay.
We'll try to sit at the table with you, Heidi, even though you've got everything already figured out.
Is there room at that table with that huge ego?
I don't know, we'll see. No. And I think that was the most beautiful moment of my life when I'm like, it's perfectly okay to not have anything figured out.
Amen. I look at my parents. I remember it was interesting. You look at your parents and you're like, they got it all figured out. And now they're adults. And I'm like, y'all
No,
don't
they
have this
don't.
shit figured out at all.
No.
And neither do I.
No.
Right?
No,
And
I don't think that we're supposed to. I mean, I think if we think that we have it all figured out, where's the rest
How
of
boring.
the learning?
How boring.
Like, I think we should be learning
know.
for the rest
and
of
then
our
is
lives.
every life then just simply a script?
yeah.
I
How
don't-
boring.
I don't want that.
Right.
I would never want that. I wouldn't change. Change
I always say
living.
I wouldn't wish my dark nights of the souls on anybody. I used to relate it back to Ben passing. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yes.
But I also would never let you take it from me because it created who I am today.
same.
Absolutely.
I say that about
Absolutely.
my
So
life
that's
all
the
time.
truth. Like
Please don't ever make me
in
have
your
to live it
story again, and when you have the courage to share, that's what it is. We're storytellers.
Right.
And then when we hear other people's story and we realize, like, oh, I always think I'm going to have a website. Well, I kind of do because I hate technology. But I think my husband always, the song A Girl Like You, he always sends it to me when it comes on the radio. I've never met a girl like you before. And I love that because I've heard that. I've never met somebody like you before, Tiffany. I've never met somebody like you.
Right.
But the truth is, we're all so similar. So I am just a girl like you and just a girl like you. And I'm just a girl that relates to him, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm so different. I'm just like you as well.
Yes.
And when we share those
Yes.
stories, whenever we show up authentically or share our story, we give everybody else the permission to do the same.
Right.
And that's really beautiful, to be good in our own skin. And it's a practice. It's not like I woke up and I'm healed and I can do this. It's like,
you make
no,
yourself do
I'm
it.
going to do this today. I'm going to
Mindfully
show
doing
up
it.
this way as this person today. This is who I want to be.
You can choose
and then I
these
actively
things.
try to be that
Yeah.
that person to the best of my capacity.
So I'm going to piggyback on that, and we're going to end, and I'm going to say, who do you want to be? That's our challenge today.
Yes.
Is to have you figure out who are you as an authentic person at the very, very core of it. And if you don't know the answer to that question, this is the perfect day to start figuring that out.
Yes.
And then we will
Agreed.
see you in June when we're going to switch gears and do something kind of fun and different. So
Fun and
tune
different.
in. I know. Tune in next week. Thank you so much. And thank you, Tiffany. You were amazing.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here.
I really
was great.
appreciate it. I'm super
I
excited.
so enjoyed hearing what you had to say. And I am absolutely
Yeah, come
I
check out
agree
one of
with
my
what you
retreats.
say.
To anybody that's there, that's my jam.
Yeah.
Is my
Yes.
retreats is where you get full doses of medicine. Oh, come check out my retreats.
We'll
I don't know.
We'll put information. I'll be able to.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll be able to get a
Find
hold of
the
Tiffany.
wild woman.
Yeah.
And come to my experiences because they're life changing. I truly get that feedback, and I'm so honored. So honored.
I love it.
I'm not very good at talking to the camera. I want to look at him, or I need a face up there so I can look at the face. Yeah,
I know. Can we put a flat Aaron behind there?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm not very good at looking at the camera either. The first couple times that we had to say
Well,
our
you fooled
introduction.
me.
Well, I've done this many
Okay,
times
yes.
now, but when we first started doing it, I was like, I forgot everything I was supposed to say. I would just look at the camera like, I don't know. Yeah.
Cool.
No,
It's fun.
it is.
Thank
we,
you,
We
ladies.
put those
Yeah.
outtakes in there intentionally because, again, we're not scripted.
I have so many people saying, oh my gosh, it's just so funny watching you. I love those little clips. People were watching me doing my meth dog imitation.
Oh my dear Lord, that was so funny.
And
I
they
cannot
were
even.
just laughing. Like
I
I
love
could
it.
tell.
You got a teenage approval on that one because all my kids watched it, and Logan was like,
my
"Oh
dog
my
is
gosh!"
just, oh man,
she was
loves
impersonating
me,
her
so-
meth dog.
Yeah, she's rabid in the way she loves me. So.
She loves her like so much.
She can't handle it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.